is going.
In the year 2000, Adnan Masood Syed was convicted of killing his ex-girlfriend, Hae Min Lee, in the parking lot of their local Best Buy after she left him for another man. In 2012, Sarah Koenig created a podcast detailing the case and conviction of Adnan Syed. The podcast was called Serial, like the killer, not to be confused with our Kellogg's-type cereal. Throughout the podcast, Sarah was swaying back and forth about Adnan's innocence, while presenting information that did not conclude whether Adnan was guilty or innocent. In this episode, we will access the evidence proving that Adnan Syed was wrongfully convicted and Sarah Koenig's bias towards Syed. Let's jump right into the evidence used by the state to prove Adnan Syed guilty. Unfortunately, there really is none. The state had 2, maybe 3 pieces of evidence to convict Adnan. None of them turned out to be as solid. Perhaps the most incriminating piece of evidence against Adnan was a map with a torn-out page and fingerprints on the back. It was one of those booklets that you can buy at gas stations, Walmart, almost anywhere. In it were the maps for all over the greater Baltimore area. The page that was missing showed Leakin Park, the site where Hae's body was found. But it also showed the teens' neighborhood, school, and basically everywhere they might drive on a regular basis. So it could have been Hae or anyone that had torn out the page. Adnan's palm print was only on the back cover of the map, not in any of the pages, so there's no way to tell if he was the one that tore out the back of the booklet. Additionally, fingerprints cannot be dated, so there is no way to know if the prints were from January 13th, 1999 or January 13th, 1998, or any time for that matter. Since there really is no way to validate the map as being a solid piece of evidence, Jay Wilds, a friend of Adnan that had supposedly helped him with the murder of Hae Min Lee, was their other and only real piece of evidence. Jay was granted immunity before admitting that he had helped with the transport and burial of Hae's body. He had a full story and remembered every detail of what happened that day while Adnan had supposedly killed Hae. Adnan, on the other hand, couldn't remember anything from that day 6 weeks earlier. But there are also 2 problems with Jay's story. First things first, it's about as consistent as Cavs hockey. Jay changes where he saw Hae's body for the first time, from Best Buy to the mall and then a pool hall. He also changes and takes out pieces of the story that hurt it, like parts that don't fit into the timeline, like smoking in Patapsco State Park. While Koenig was interviewing some of Jay's former friends, she uncovered something about him that might help invalidate his story. Jay was an avid liar and loved attention. According to them, he lied about everything, little and big, so it doesn't seem too improbable that he would lie about this whole thing just for attention. There is a glaring problem with the time Hae died. According to Jay's story, Hae was dead by 2:36 p.m. Summer, one of Hae's friends and a fellow manager of the wrestling team, said she vividly remembers talking to Hae between 2:30 and 2:45. Summer is a credible witness because that day was significant to her, because it was her first match and she had anxiety because she didn't want to go to the match alone and she didn't know how to keep score. Based on the evidence the state used, we determined that Adnan might not be innocent, but there is not good enough evidence to convict him. Yes, there are some parts that look really bad for him. The lack of an alibi really does look bad. Like, how do you not remember what happened to you on the day your ex-girlfriend went missing? And unexplained calls and locations of those calls on your phone. But thanks to inconsistencies and facts don't check out in Jay's story, and the lack of evidence on the map, there is a significant amount of reasonable doubt in our minds after going through the whole case, and that helps solidify our verdict.